All right, here we go. It's listen, it may not be what we thought would happen, but we are here. At least we thought the Max would be there. We knew the Max would be there, but we're playing against Manhattanville in the Skyline Championship Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Also, a ton of great games today and tomorrow in D3. I'm here with Shua and Ariel. Again, it's like the analytic jackpot that we got here. We're going to crunch in a little bit, dig into the numbers, whether you're going to watch us now, whether you're going to do it on your way to the game tomorrow, or just a little stats with breakfast. However you want to make it happen. We're gonna dig into the Manhattanville team. We're digging into YU, cover some keys to the game, and just get really excited and really pumped for tomorrow, which we hope and we believe. Right, we'll cover the line. We'll see what you guys' predictions at the end, but we hope will be a max win and a nice setup for the NCAA tournament starting next week. Welcome, guys. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
What's on your mind, guys? What are you excited about? What do you spend all Shabbos worrying about? But what are you thinking about for Sunday?
I was not so worried. I don't know. It's pretty calm, maybe more calm than I should be. I like going to Farmingdale. That was scaring me. Like, throughout the week, like I had just those fears of, flashbacks from it was 2019 when we lost that game. And it's always a tough place to play. But now they have a home game against Manhattanville, which is a tough opponent, no question. But I think we have a pretty good matchup. I think matchup wise, I think it's a better matchup than it would have been against Farmingdale. So definitely, maybe I should be a little bit more nervous because, crazy things have happened this year and in life and everything crazy stuff could happen. But I'm feeling pretty good. I think the Macs have been playing about as good basketball as they have all year at the right moment. And hopefully they can continue it tomorrow, of course.
Yeah, we're only hosting a home game, right? Because crazy things did happen. So right. So it's we got here, maybe not so crazy. Maybe Mount St. Vincent was a little crazier than Manhattanville upsetting Farmingdale. But what are you thinking about, Shua?
So, like similar to what Ariel was saying, I mean, I haven't really been nervous about this, for better or worse, since the game after we lost to St. Joseph's Long Island. Since that game, we've just seen a different version of the Macs. And like Homer or not, we've always felt that the Macs at their best or at even close to their best, they're not. The Skyline just isn't competitive with us. For better or worse, we're better than the Skyline Conference, and we've seen the version of the Macs that's closer and closer to the best version, where I really haven't been that nervous in the Sky Place. I wasn't that nervous if we were going to go to Farmingdale. I'm honestly feeling about the same at home against Manhattanville. I mean, say what you will, we have 3 losses at home this year. We have 0 losses on the road. So I'm just really feeling very confident going into the Manhattanville game. And I likely would have said the same if we were going into a Farmingdale game away. So kind of those are my thoughts.
So sounds like we're feeling collectively pretty confident. I mean, that's right? Meaning when it comes to just pure talent, right? When it comes to the matchups itself, I think if we were talking about Farmingdale here, we'd actually have some interesting one-on-one matchups. But coming into tomorrow's game, the matchups aren't really in doubt, right? Like almost you can go position by position, obviously with Ryan and Gabe, but you could also go, and typically can in the Skyline, in most of the time you can go to E13, you can go to Matan, you can go to Ofek, and then even get into some of the the bench, the bench rally, and still be happy or favorable with those matchups, right? So is there any individuals you look sort of the pace of the play? I know Ariel, you spent time on Friday taking a look at the last game versus Manhattanville, which, by the way, for talk about maybe for fans to know that maybe the Macs, not just obviously both teams, should look different, in November than they do now that we're coming to tournament time in March, right? March is right around the corner. What else is different this time around?
Yeah, so last time we played, that was, fans will remember that. That's the Ryan Terrell 51-point unbelievable game. So if you want to just check that out just for that, just to see that, it's always just fun to witness, like how amazing he played. But just besides that, like we were missing. I said it Thursday night as well. We were missing Eitan Halpert, Ethan Lasco. Apparently, we've found out that Gabe Leifer was sick that game, and they went out. They were up by 6 at the half, I believe. They were up by 12 at one point in the first half, and just the lineups we were putting out there were just not something that we were going to see tomorrow. You know, Gav Landau played much more minutes than he would. Adi Markovic played more minutes, and they're good players. But when you have lineups with when Gabe was sitting on the bench and when Ryan was sitting on the bench in that game, when you put the combinations together, there was some lineups where there's like literally you couldn't get any offense. The players were trying to like see who, like they're passing to each other with no purpose. No one really took control of that game, and then the second half Ryan went out of this world. But that was the only reason why it was really close in that game. Other than that, no one's on that team is able to stop Ryan. Like he's Ryan's 6'7", whatever you want to call it, on a good telling us what shoes he's wearing. But their starting center is 6'2". Like we have a big size advantage tomorrow. Manhattanville, I saw them also against Farmingdale on Thursday night. I was kind of watching both games. They're definitely a better team than we saw earlier in the year in November. But just matchup wise, like they're not going to be able to stop a healthy Gabe. Like, you know, from what we've seen recently, he could go to town against them. There's not going to be anyone to like let him go, you know, drive to the hoop, like just from inside and bully ball them really, because we have a lot of big size advantage.
And for those who don't remember, even though we are, you know, we're talking about obviously Ryan's heroics in that game was the main highlight, you know, setting a YU, you know, historic record at 51 points. We still won, right? We won that game by 22. So won that game going away, 78-56. Obviously, Ryan keyed that. And then many people remember famous for another reason, especially of those who got to enjoy the game, not just in person, but those who got to enjoy on Max Live. That was also the Jack Terrell, you know, doing the call. We got butters on rolls. We got all sorts of things going on. It was the perfect game, you know, for Ryan with Jack calling. So again, a very entertaining game that really got out of control and away from Manhattanville into the end, the middle to the end of the second half. What else, Shua, do we think about when we talk about sort of some of these matchups? What are you looking for in terms of any individual play?
I look to see Eitan bounce back from a little bit of a quieter performance to have, I think, a bigger performance in this game. He'll obviously want to make up for the fact that he wasn't a part of the last game against Manhattanville. So he's usually runs a bit hot and cold. So we look to see him have a hot bounce back. If we're counting the each game individually. Like Ariel said, but Ariel also pointed out Gabe took, I think, what do you say, Ariel, 3 shots in the first half?
Like 5. Look back, it's
I
5
think we're
shots.
see a lot.
3 shots from inside. Yeah, like Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So I think Gabe's going to just like we've seen all second half. We're going to see a lot more Gabe, and like we don't need Ryan to score 51 to beat Manhattanville. Ryan putting up 30 is just fine for us. So and also I look to see Ofek having a big game again, because all of these different pieces working together just opens up the back door for like we've seen recently. And when Ofek's getting those backdoor cuts, and we're really the Max as a whole are really hard to stop.
Yeah, we've seen a really healthy Ofek. I mean, honestly, after seeing him in the knee brace a few games ago, to where obviously we're not seeing anything on the any body armor at all, and he's really enjoying a lot of freedom in terms of the offense, not just in terms of the back cuts. We've seen him make plays the last 3 or 4 games, taking contact down low. I mean, he's really. I was sitting with one of the writers from the Daily News for the last game, and he mentioned that he was just impressed at how much contact, how physical he is down low, right? For his size, not one of obviously the big bodies, but really he's always unafraid in the paint. As Shua mentioned, we should expect to see. With the size here, we should expect to see more points in the paint as we've seen in the past couple games. I don't know if you guys see. I mean, do they? The last couple games, have they been rolling out any sort of press, any sort of different look, to get ahead in these games? I know they play a really slower pace than most of the teams in the conference, but what other things do they try to employ?
So I saw, I watched the game actually from, last time we played them, and in Farmingdale, I think they did the same thing where late in the first half they'll whip out a zone to try to throw you off, I think. So I saw that in those two games. I think that's just something that we might see. I'll be curious to see, because of the matchup wise, like maybe they'll just roll with the zone, because one on one, they're not going to win any of the matchups really tomorrow. It's just going to be way too tough for them. So we could see a zone. I don't think I saw too much of a press for them, but something I did notice also in the Farmingdale game, Farmingdale was actually playing a zone a lot. I think there were a lot of foul trouble that might have been part of it. And they were having struggling with that in the beginning in the first half, but then in the second half they scored like 48 points or something like that against Farmingdale, and they took care of that. So but I think we might see some zone against them. I didn't see any press, like you mentioned. They're a slower team, they slower pace. And another thing that they did well against Farmingdale was they didn't turn the ball over very much. So they take care of the ball. They're a very disciplined team defensively and offensively. Nothing going to do like wow you, but they're just solid. They're going to basically, the way YU's going to lose if YU loses the game, I don't think they're going to do anything exceptional to win the game.
I mean, yeah, it's when I remember, again, Manhattanville going back forever, right? They always will come out to play. Very scrappy and energetic defensive team. Again, sometimes they have, like I said, it's not like they're lacking in talent. I think when we talk about YU's exceptional talent, that's what we're talking about, the matchup wins. But they have some really good ball players, right? Jake Dunn, Tommy Lilito. It seems to be the engine of that team. They don't have a lot of size, but they have guys who come on. I believe Jackson Leach came off the bench. He
played well. Yeah,
he played well against Farmingdale. I think he had 17 points, hit 3 for 5 from 3, but that's not what he's been doing all season. So it's interesting. They've gotten some contributions to come in and make plays, and they have some guys who can shoot a little bit. But for the most part, I think they're a 45% field goal shooting team. That's 35% from 3-point line. You compare that to YU, which is closer, I believe, to 54% on the season, and closer to that 40% mark, 41% mark from 3. So again, definitely not able really to compete with YU from a shooting standpoint. But we've seen teams like, listen, we saw St. Joe's come in, we saw some other teams come in, and when the Macs give them the opportunity or give some open shots, especially early in the game, we have people step out of what they've usually done and be able to put a higher percentage. So what do you think the Macs need to do on defense, Shua, to be able to, make that happen? I know we're going to focus a little bit on their offense as well on some of the highlights, but what do you think has to happen on defense?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying I really think Yeshiva wins this game on the offensive end. I really think if we're able to impose our offensive will on them, really doesn't matter what we do defensively, we're going to win this game. But keys defensively, assuming things don't go well offensively, we need to continue to do what we've seen in the recent games. We need to be better at closing out on shooters, have better awareness of when you're guarding your man off ball, have better rotations. All of those things which we've seen them really clean up in recent games are all just key to continuing to not allow a team that's shooting 45% from the field and 35% from 3 to shoot 55% from the field and 58% from 3, or just throwing out random numbers. I think from the game against Farmingdale, but so basically those type of things on the defense end. Of course, like we always say, continue to control the defensive rebounding, which we've seen them do outside of that one blip in the first playoff game against Purchase. We've seen them do a superb job of recently of really not getting beat on the offensive glass.
Yeah, two things that we saw. I mean, things that we talk about sometimes, but they've done a better job, a much better job. I mean, not just a better job, but a great job adjusting to was what we saw in the first half of St. Joe's. We also saw actually the first half the other night against Mount St. Vincent, where you had guard penetration leading to layups, right? Layups off guard penetration, off deep guard penetration into the paint. And that really basically went away in both those games in the second half. Both those games, there were adjustments made, both in terms of the sliding down, both in terms of how they were not allowing the guards to get as deep. And as we continue to see that, I really, again, struggle to see where Manhattanville gets their offense from. because, like we said, they are not a spot-up shooting team. They're going to start moving off rotation, and they're going to need to hit some tough shots. And listen, they may be prepared to hit some tough shots, and I wouldn't be surprised. They do have some good senior talent and junior talent that is really driving this team. So they've been there before. We expect a tough game. They're also coached really well, and we'll key on some of the things, trying to take the high post away from Gabe. I remember that from the first game, even though, again, Gabe wasn't at peak performance. They were trying to make the game a little bit more difficult. They didn't have anyone to take Ryan, and that's why Ryan decided, I believe, that he realized it was all on him and took that into control, and they really couldn't. There was nothing they could throw at him. They couldn't even throw doubles or triples at him to stop him, because they really don't have not even the size, but even the guys to stay with him, horizontally or any point of the court, right, going side to side. Do you think Harold, is going to help us throw a zone out there, Shua? I think we're not going to get a zone defense from YU tomorrow. I know we've been joking about. I don't think YU's played zone all year. I don't think they're going to try anything that they're going to, unload in the, potentially in the tournament, even if they get ahead of the game. I think we're just going to see a very solid half-court team on both sides of the ball. Hopefully that defense leads to a lot of transition, which has been a spark for YU. I believe you said in conversations we were having before, they're now back at their, average in that 80 plus territory average per game, which is, for the first 10 games coming out of the break, we didn't see that as much. So the transition points are really helping with that.
Yeah, and we know, like you said, Manhattanville plays at one of the slowest paces in the conference. They play at one of the slowest paces in Division III altogether. And we start getting transition. We start to get them in a little bit of, we start to build a little bit of a lead and force them to take shots quicker in the shot clock. And that's just playing straight into our game. And all of those things will be key towards to driving towards a victory.
Anything else we want to throw out for tomorrow? I mean, it sounds like there is an expectation. Listen, let's sometimes we got to stop and smell the roses, right? Like, this is incredible, right? Like, this team has been under an immense amount of pressure all season long. To take that in stride, especially turning it around the last number of games. St. Joe's game obviously stands out, but we've seen individuals really take it on themselves, and we've seen the team as a whole really play together, much better together, playing their roles, focusing on what they're supposed to do. So this is just an incredible thing. I know the MSAC will be on fire tomorrow. What do we know of any have some fun things going on? I know there's going to be a party outside the MSAC, right? I guess that's what they call the quadrangle for anybody who doesn't have tickets, right? It sounds like there's going to be some sort of festivities.
Yeah, beware of the wind. I think that's the wind tunnel, right? Like by Belfer, that's where it's going to be.
Is that where it is? The Belfer, the wind tunnel is.
So
I remember.
Make sure you wear a hat. Make sure you wear a hat or something. Strap your whatever it is. Just make sure. It gets very windy there. So
it's where umbrellas go to die. That's what I remember. Right. I saw another casualty there the other day. One of those umbrellas would get completely turned inside out, blows off the back. Usually I think they're the ones that YU gives out to students. But there are Belfer. That walk to Belfer was always death to umbrellas. It was rough.
Yeah,
Keep us flying left and right.
I'm sure, it'll be windy, but I'm sure it'll be fun watching the game with, a big crowd. I thought it's a great idea that they're doing this, it's so hard to get in. Hopefully they'll be selling tickets. We're not sure in case anyone's wondering. We have no idea. We're hoping as much as you that they're selling, and, I'll be there early if they are. So we'll see. It'll be exciting to see. Just very exciting that this is happening. We had doubts after the St. Joe's Long Island game, like, could they even get this far? Could they get to this point? We didn't think they'd be hosting, and it's the fact that they're hosting. It's going to be very exciting. And one thing that's going to be probably an advantage, I think. Manhattanville probably hasn't played in a gym that's going to look like it, in a gym that looks like it'll look tomorrow, where it's packed. Like, even when they played us the first game, that was Sunday of a Thanksgiving weekend. It was probably the emptiest as been all year in MSAC. So maybe they'll feast off, the crowd, but it's going to be very intense, and we'll see if they can handle it. But I think hopefully that'll be a big advantage for us.
And this is their first final, I believe. I was reading his first final since 2007. So it's not like their program, even though they're always in the thick of it when it comes to. I don't remember many seasons where they've missed the playoffs, but they haven't been in
joined Skyline like a couple seasons ago.
Yeah, they joined a couple of seasons ago.
A couple seasons ago. I remember playing them back in 2000, so I remember
they
them.
came back. They came back.
They were away, and then they were back. They were in a different conference.
They were in like the Mac Freedom or something, or one of these conferences, like more New Jersey conferences.
But they're always pretty competitive wherever they are in whatever conference that they're in. So
it's a good program. Yeah, it's a great program. They're well coached.
But they haven't been in championship in 15 years. So again, none of these players have experienced that, especially at this level. So it'd be interesting to see how they play off it. Again, this YU team, if I remember correctly, most of this team, this is their third or fourth final, right? That they're playing on. There's four straight, but I think for most of the team, there how many folks have been in? Is it just Gabe? Gabe might be the only one with four.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple. Maybe Alone. Maybe Alone has his fourth as well. I'm not sure, but
no, he wasn't. No one else was there.
Everyone else, but most of the team has been to three. So it's pretty cool, and it's got to be. But this is probably the only one where you say, and this is where the pressure still comes, right? This is the only one where you say if they don't win this season, it is a failed season, right? This was basically the baseline. Get back to the tournament. To where they are, so that's sometimes tough to have that pressure on you.
Yeah, and I think I just want to point this out, just for Bob probably want me to do this. If YU doesn't win tomorrow, we're done. Even though we're ranked 20, whatever, we're ranked in the rankings. If we're not winning, there's no pool C for us. And I could explain it to you. I'm not going to do it, but we just didn't have a strong enough schedule. That's the gist of it. We're not getting in. We're not getting in tomorrow, so it's win or go home. And the stakes are higher than it could possibly be, and it's gonna be exciting to see what happens.
That's awesome. We got some. Go ahead.
And Bob will be very thankful now, scenario. We've been here before. Look, we had the purchase final. No, I was just saying we had the purchase final a couple years ago. It was exactly the same thing. We didn't expect to get a pool C if we lost. We came out. They had a little run to begin, but we really clamped down right after that and just controlled the entire game from when we were down 13-3 to the end. We dominated that game, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure, but I really feel I expect to see a similar game from our Max.
Yeah, it should be really fun. I think, like you said. I guess Bob would want us to tell us, right? There is no pool C option, as you mentioned. There've been a lot of great games in E3. There are actually a number of games tipping off around the same time. That are final. We've been speculating as we sort of shift here. What are some of the names and places, right? What are the let's pretend they're all good, but what are some of the names and places you sort of start hearing in some of these D3 mock-ups, right? As we shift to sort of thinking about the tournament. Again, I will, channel my bubby and I'll say poo, 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 but now we can shift to the other part of the conversation. We get the Ayin Hara out of the way, but what are we thinking when it comes to, God willing, they make it through and there's a tournament, what are some of the names and games that you see coming to the forefront?
Yeah, Bli Ayin Hara. That's I can't say that enough. Hopefully, we take care of business tomorrow. Like I think we all expect.
Not want to look ahead.
Yeah, it's hard to look ahead, but you could see. I think Matt Snyder said something in the chat. He definitely did some great work. Potential possibilities. Stockton in South Jersey might be a possibility.
That's the one I'm praying for, by the way. Not even
great.
Because of matchup. I think the whole weekend experience, the accessibility for fans, all that kind of stuff will be awesome. And they're a really good team. But just that's the one I think that I've been hoping for.
Yeah, that would be my ideal. We could go to Wesleyan, Wesleyan or Mass Dartmouth. I'm not sure if they're going to be hosting now because they lost. Somewhere up north.
I want to go to Wesleyan. It's my dad's alma mater, Wesleyan,
and that'd be cool.
I always riff him to tell him tell your alma mater to play us. So
Matt Snyder actually posted in the chat. Perfect. Thank you so much, Matt. And first of all, thank you for Matt for all you do.
It's amazing.
All D3 fans, it's incredible. We're so grateful. I literally check it every day, pretty much.
And Matt, by the way, if you're listening right now and you I'm gonna DM you sort of the link here if you want to jump on with us or if you're open to it. We'd love to talk just what else has been going on as Bob made it clear, and we know that we've been there's a 5-hour period that most of us can't follow, and there have been some amazing games and outcomes and bubble watching over the past 25 hours, 40 hours or so. So we'd love. I'm gonna DM you if you feel like jumping on. Please come on, but don't feel pressure. But we'd love to talk just D3 in general while we have the time here.
And Matt had a great tweet, by the way, with the Tom Brady.
That Tom Brady. I was looking for a high five.
That's hilarious.
Love that.
Good.
The Tom Brady one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. That was great. That was perfect. Yeah, but Matt said, for those who can't see the chat, WPI, that's up north. St. Joseph, WPI is the team we played 2 years ago. St. Joe's, Connecticut, I doubt they'll send us there though, because we've just played them, so they usually try to avoid those. But I guess it's technically a possibility they'll be hosting. Stockton, like we mentioned, Williams, that'll be interesting because we should have played them earlier, so that's a possibility. Nichols, they're on the borderline if they're hosting. They're also up north somewhere there, and Mass Dartmouth, like we mentioned. So those are the possible sites. I guess technically, like Randolph-Macon or Marietta are possible. Maybe for like a 3 seed, but hopefully we're not going there. That'd be nice if we avoid that place. What do you think for the game? I just want back to the game for tomorrow. What do you think, like lineups? Do we think we're going to go big, go small? You know, because they have a smaller lineup. Are we going to match that with, you know, throwing out Pateshat more? Is Jordan going to play more? What do you guys think about that?
Sure. What do you got? You know, we've been seeing some more consistency in the lineup lately, right? Meaning there hasn't been as much experimentation. There hasn't been too much of that going on. So what are you thinking? What's going to happen here?
I think it will largely depend on how it's working. So like we're going to start out with Matan, obviously, and we'll see how that lineup is working. And I think depending on if we're getting beaten inside pretty badly, might go to Jordan. If it's working well, I think we'll go more to a small ball and see how it works. But I really think like Gabe at the 5, that lineup can perform extremely well against Manhattanville,
Yeah,
just because of the size disadvantage and
right.
and the amount of shooting that will give us and the speed on defense. I think all of that will work in our favor with Gabe at the 5. But again, like even with Jordan or Matan at the 5, I don't want to see a Jordan and Matan lineup. I just don't ever want to see that lineup. But either one of them, I think, can also work really well.
Yeah, they could. Like I saw when I was watching the game from November, Jordan like they had mismatches. Like, but Jordan was doing that thing he was doing earlier in the year. Where he was like taking those underhand layups where if he's playing like he does recently, where he's just going straight to the hoop, he'll be able to feast on it. Like, there's no one that's within like 5 inches against him. They're not gonna be able to stop him, and so we could throw that out there. I think we might see like a mix of. We'll see what I think we'll see.
Yeah, among the things we've loved seeing lately, right? Like, there's been a lot of, right. We talked about. I think Jack used the term "firing on all cylinders." I think Jack used several different terms and examples, so probably can't get them all out there. But Jordan, his aggressiveness, right, which usually is only on defense, is now translating in the last 5-6 games to the offensive side. Again, I'm not sure whether that is as much to do with role starting, not starting. Again, comfortability, right? Remember, this is, you know, not only Jordan but Ethan's first year on the team. So again, there's still a lot of feeling out, and they didn't play. You know, the first 15 games were played with various lineups because of injuries and other people out. So I think Jordan getting more comfortable and being more aggressive. We've seen him take it offensively a lot more and to the basket. Right. You know, whether it's the hook shot leaning in or other things, he's starting to go to the basket and really playing it out there. So love seeing that aggressiveness from him. Matan has been doing it all season long when it comes to sort of that other option. If they, you know, when they back off 5-6 feet from the 3-point line, he's like, great, I'm just going to work it into the paint and start the offensive move, and great footwork. And you see him putting the ball in a lot, and that really opens it up, obviously, for shooters and others. So with the big men are operating on offense, and they can against this smaller team, we see a lot of great lobs from Gabe, from Ryan, and others to get the ball to them. If we start seeing those go in, I think Ara, you mentioned we missed some gimmies the last time around.
Yeah.
So that's even in a 22-point win, there were opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like defensively, they didn't shoot very well, but like we gave them more than we should. I think if we're playing like we are defensively now, we're staying on our guy. We're not giving up open threes. That's my biggest fear for the game tomorrow is they're just going to chuck up a bunch of threes and hit them. Like I guess any underdog in these big games might, do. That's my biggest fear. That's like stay tough defensively.
Yes, we got Matt on. Sweet. Want to come on video here? Let's introduce you.
Hey, you like my Red Wings t-shirt?
Hey, yeah, Red Wings.
I like this video because it doesn't show the rest of the body, so I can wear my old Yeshiva gear without you having to see the gut that happens, as you look lower down. But we're getting dressed up for the preview. Matt, it is an honor, an absolute
Calvin
privilege.
today.
Repping Calvin today, and tough loss.
I was rooting for you guys.
I love those games. I love those games. We got the first things first. Where does Calvin sit right now, and are they going to be is it going to be a long deep breath for the next 36 hours?
Definitely not feeling good. Going to be on the bubble. It's going to be a difficult choice. I think we'll be on the board, but I don't know if we're going to get our name called or not. I think it's really 50-50, hoping for no upsets tomorrow. Could go either way.
What are some of the big the games that are still going that are really the bubble watch games? Because I know we have a number of matchups, and we had some great matchups today that were not bubble watch games, obviously with Mount Union and Marietta, with Oshkosh and Platteville. But what are some of the games that could be either bid thief kind of games?
Right now going on in the Pacific Northwest is Whitworth and Whitman. Whitworth is probably in, Whitman is out. So if Whitman wins that game, that will be a bubble bursting scenario. And then tomorrow there's a handful. Randolph-Macon against Virginia Wesleyan, similar. Virginia Wesleyan could steal a bid. St. Joseph against Albertus Magnus. Albertus could steal a bid. And what else is there? NESCAC finals, not a bid stealing situation. McAllister and St. John's, Minnesota. I think that's another potential bid thief. Because I think St. John's is in. McAllister obviously not. I don't think they've ever been into the men's tournament, so McAllister could get their first bid.
Paying attention to the wider world for the past few years, like I don't remember it getting this far without. So this is pretty. There haven't been some obvious major bubble bursting happening. There've been some good setups for it, but then we're seeing some teams, obviously like Elmhurst and others, handle their business and keep it at bay. But this is it's been pretty chalk to a certain extent in most of the tournaments.
And the upsets we've seen, like you mentioned, the CCIW, Elmhurst was probably getting in either way. So there was some upsets going on there. But really the Pool C list that I've been looking at has been pretty constant over the last week. Surprisingly, usually you get 3, 4, 5 teams that jump in there. There hasn't been that many true bid thief games. Maybe in the Liberty League, RPI lost today, and that's probably a true bid thief. Other than that, the teams that lost kind of are on the bubble.
Keene State,
the Keene State one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's another one too. Those were two that happened. And I think those finals came within 10 or 15 minutes of each other. So those were like our two bubble scenarios.
When I was scrolling down after, when I was able to finally look at my phone, that was like this looked like it would have been fun to actually watch live. But
I'm saying we got to get the red zone going, because the thing is okay, even though the bubble's held right for the most part, the games have been amazing. There've been overtime game. Again, down to the wire, overtime, last minute plays, big players again as usual stepping up, some incredible individual performances. Sort of as we watch. So it really sets up, and like I said, the talent is really rising to the top. It sets up for a great tournament regardless, but some really incredible games. I know we're gonna dive in. I know we want to have a really deep dive with you and Shua on some of the the ins and outs of the process. But talk to us just a little bit in terms of the sort of bracket, right, as it comes. And to these guys, I can't talk about Yeshiva already being in there, but you're allowed to. So if we could talk about sort of some of the options, not just for Yeshiva, but just how they sort of put it all in, and you have the 16 hosts. How do the rest of the teams get sort of filled in, both with the mile situation and also does anybody care about matchups? Does anybody care about what conference you're in? Does anybody care about who you played so far? What are they looking to do in terms of that setup?
Yeah, great questions. And I don't know all of the behind the curtains details. But I think overall they do try to seed the tournament, right? It's not like Division I where you have 1 through 16 in all the 4 regions, but I think they like to get a general sense of what's kind of the order from the regional rankings and kind of mix those in. So there is a general seeding. However, in Division III, geography is going to trump almost anything else. So you're going to get your matchups within 600 miles this year, which is the busing distance. Over 600 miles, they'll pay for a flight. That gets a lot more expensive. So basically anywhere within 600 miles is valid. And they'll do the best they can within that to balance the regions based on the criteria. So it's a little bit important to notice the distinction between balancing versus the criteria and balancing for actual team strength. As we've talked about with the max, right? There's not going to be a pool C option. Right. Actual team strength, they're probably a top 25 team, right? But based on the criteria, they're not there. So they're going to end up kind of being what I call a 3 in a 4-team pod. But yes, they do look at conferences and they do look at matchups to some degree. So as much as possible, while still maintaining geography, they're going to avoid a conference being in the same 4-team pod.
So I have to, this is my question. Maybe it's again, growing up and literally growing up on March Madness and sort of getting the D1 style out of my head in terms of the brackets. The big question that I have when you say 3 in the pod, right? So my head immediately goes, okay, so they're going to play the 2 in the pod, right? But is that really how it works, or can you play the 1, or is it like does it really set up like that? If they really are viewed as sort of on the 3 line, does that really play out that way?
Yeah, I think generally it does. So I like to think of it better as 1, 2, 3, and 4 rather than 1 through 16, just because there's so much geography and thing happening. So what I mean by the 4s are the teams that are going to go and play the hosts. The hosts are those top 16 teams. So that you kind of have your bookends there. 2s and 3s kind of squish in the middle, and they're the teams that are going to be playing each other kind of in that offsite game. I think they do kind of think of it that way. The committees do tend to think of it that way and try to match teams up that way. So that's what I mean. I think it's unlikely that you guys, if you get in, and I think you guys are going to win tomorrow, you're going to get in. I can say that. I think you'll not play the host like I was maybe fearing you guys would a few days ago.
And there's like, it's a question of if we want to play the host or not. Like maybe do we want to play some on the bottom of the top 16 versus, playing being as a 3 seed and going to Randolph-Macon or something, and then having to play them on the Saturday night. So that's scary. That's also, so we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we're even in this conversation tomorrow. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. And this is I don't know to what degree they really look at, what I'll call a high 4 versus a low 3. And if you really followed a strict S curve style something, then those teams would play maybe a team in the 12 to 16 range or something like that. I don't know if they're going to really get into it that far. If I was seeding the tournament, I would probably do that. I would send you to a Nichols or Williams or Stockton, teams that I think are probably in that bottom of the top 16. But it's all fair game in geography. But when you get on the East Coast, all of you teams can go almost anywhere. So they think they're going to balance the criteria as much as possible.
And then once you get out of the first weekend, that travel basically goes. It doesn't make a difference anymore, right? Because now you're just left with whoever you're left with. If for any team, once the first weekend is over, basically.
Yeah, they'll try to bracket those 14 pods based on geography. So try to get Yeshiva into a pod at Stockton, let's say, and then that pod will go to play Marietta or something that's within 600 miles for most of those teams. Again, East Coast, you can do a whole lot, even into Ohio is what we found made some pretty cool Illinois Wesleyan Yeshiva Marietta pods in my mock bracketing, which could be fun. But yeah, I think they do try to look at geography for the second weekend. I don't know how far they get into all the combinations, but they want to avoid flights as much as possible.
Don't get us wrong. We want the Titans. So, we definitely remember the Titans.
Yeah,
and we definitely want them. But I think that's what we talked about. Listen, once you're there, right, you're in the top 64 teams, you're going to have to beat the best at some point, right? And so no matter when you're pinned up against them, you like to build towards it. But as we were saying, in some of these conversations, actually over the Sabbath, I was having a number of conversations in my community with folks. YU is probably playing their best basketball, that they've played, I really believe, all year, because the intensity and the consistency all 40 minutes, again, the St. Joe's game, as an example, where they played great in the first half, just, gave up a lot of easy layups and then basically took that away and have the same offensive second half. They really have been playing the best. It may not be bad to start with a tougher team, depending on sort of how that comes out. But obviously, you never know, and you got to rise to the occasion no matter what happens.
Yeah, and it'll be tough no matter who we play. All these teams in the tournament, the Skyline's going to look very easy compared to some of these teams that we're playing. I'll say it like that, I guess.
In my mind, I just want to see Ryan and Jack Davidson face off. I'm just saying, the individual matchups, sometimes are you have you licking your chops at some of the players that are just going to be. It's just unreal, the talent and some of the matchups that are going to be there. Even getting to, you don't have to wait to Fort Wayne to see some of these incredible matchups. Tomorrow's set, you talked about. Who do you think is playing the best right now? I mean, I don't remember Randolph-Macon being in a close game for a long time, even against some really good competition. So I'm trying to think. Marietta's obviously, they've been unreal. They got tested tonight in a really, by a really good team in Mount Union. But who are you looking at, sort of seeing it? Oshkosh has been doing it all year round, in probably the toughest, if not one of the toughest conferences. So what are you seeing going on?
Yeah, you just named the three right there. Randolph-Macon, Marietta, and UW Oshkosh. To me, those three enter the tournament kind of ahead above everyone else. Not to say they can't be beat, but then even among those three, when I watch them play, and I'm not an eye test guy, I'm pretty bad at that, but Randolph-Macon just always looks like a really good team. Those others are obviously great, but I to me, if I was gonna have to place a wager or something on the tournament, Randolph-Macon for me is the team to beat.
Shua wants the numbers. I want the data to back up something. I want something that jumps out at you, off the page in terms of things that we don't know, right? Everybody's looking at something, and then it's well, actually, they're the best defensive team in the country, or what are really those strengths leading in? Is there anything on any of these teams in really the top 5 or 6 that jump out that people either would be surprised at or don't give enough credit?
Yeah, I think Marietta is the number one offensive team in the country for me when I run efficiency numbers stuff. Their defense isn't quite as strong. And when you look at Oshkosh and Randolph-Macon, to me, they're a bit more balanced. They're both kind of top 5-ish offenses and top 15-ish defenses. So I think they bring a little bit more balance, whereas Marietta is going to come at you with the offense, and they'll play good defense, but it's not going to be elite like some of those other teams.
Yeah, Marietta also doesn't turn the ball over. It's insane. Their turnover percentage is less than 10% of their possessions. So they come at you in waves. They hit threes and they just don't turn the ball over. They're a superb offensive team.
Yeah, and not turning a ball over is a great way to increase your offensive rating, right? It's free possessions you're not giving away.
Yeah, that is the definition of a tough out. I know some people like to look at free throw shooting. I've been I guess it's like every college conference, right? We shoot probably in the 60s, the high 60s, and most people in the conference. But then I see some teams that shoot closer to the high 70s, where they are. I watching these tournament games, does the pace, right? Because now you're talking about teams from different conferences and sort of want to just in terms of what you've seen over the years, how much does style come into play now that you're sort of mashing it up when it comes to a lot of these teams meeting? Because what we're watching in the conference tournaments is typically not too much of a style sort of style challenge between the teams that are playing. But once you get to the tournament matchups, now you got teams from different conferences playing different styles coming together. Does that play out a lot of the tournament in terms of who can dictate their style of play?
Yeah, I don't really have a numbers answer for this, so I'm going to disappoint Shua here. But to me, it always seems like the team that can dictate, make you play their game is the team that is more comfortable, and the team that is going to end up largely on top in those matchups. So if you like to play fast and you can get the other team to play fast, I think that's to your benefit. And that's where a team like Marietta, who doesn't turn the ball over, they're probably going to be better served in those situations when you're playing a different style, because if you can take care of your own business, then the other team's not going to affect you as much.
Yeah, watching some of these teams, especially in the in like Oshkosh and others, who seem to be just as comfortable playing a slug out game as they are playing a game where they need to put up 70, 80 points. That's what scares you the most when you see teams like this. And it's great to watch. I love it. Some of those games, I think tonight was more in the 60s or lower, and I think they play games in the 70s and 80s. And I love watching games in that
Matt's
conference.
point, I think and Bob always say this, how dominant the Midwest is versus the rest of the country in D3. I think one of the things we see is that the Midwest is very good at imposing their style on other teams. I mean, we saw it in the IW Yeshiva game. IW forced Yeshiva to play their game, and it didn't work out for Yeshiva. Yeshiva scored 59 points. Yeshiva's used to putting up 85, 90. So even though IW only scored 73 points, it was still a 14-point victory. And we see that a lot with the Wisconsin teams, with the CCIW teams, with the like the Ohio Athletic Conference teams. Like, those teams are very good at imposing their style of play on the teams they're playing, especially with physicality.
I wonder do we see anything from a referee standpoint? I mean, this is just more the fun sometimes. I mean, like, listen, we have games up here where even in the past few games, even blood sometimes doesn't constitute a foul, as we've seen with some bloody noses the last 3 games. But in general, it seems like, you could get somewhere where they allow a lot of contact, right? Which may favor some of those Midwest teams or other teams that play that style versus others. I'm just not sure how how the officials, whether we see that matter. I mean, to me, always the best official is one you don't even know that they're there. But obviously, it's very few and far between where that happens. But do we see that in the officiating? Do you see that in the tournament? Again, I haven't had the privilege of watching this yet.
Yeah, I think there's probably some stylistic differences around the country that could throw teams off. Typically, though, in the tournament, still geographically, you're relatively, 600 miles is a long distance. But I don't know that you're sending teams clear across the country, at least early on. So I think it's something that can be talked about. But I think it maybe is more of a crew to crew difference in officiating rather than just pure regionality. So I don't know. I think I don't maybe even watch enough games consistently from too many different places around the country to see how games are officiated. I just know my personal aesthetic choice is when we're not seeing 25 whistles and a half or something like that. So
they let them play. This is my plea to the Yeshiva players and Yeshiva fans to just lay off the refs tomorrow. Trust me, they have no stake in it. Just let them do their job, and it'll be a beautiful game. We'll control and all the cheers will limit to the gameplay for the most part. And
you don't want to play against your opponent and the officials too. So just pick one. Just play against your opponent, and that's enough challenge right there.
5 on 7, 5 on 8, right? Is not it's not the best matchup in the world.
Yeah.
All right, as we sort of wind. Yeah, as we wind down here, anything else we should look for? When is the actual selection sort of show? When does it happen? Like, when is all the fun? I think the last games are tomorrow, right? Meaning there are no games that lead up to the tournament after tomorrow.
I think the latest tip I saw tomorrow is 5:00. Then the committees will start doing their deliberations. I believe the selection show is noon or 1 or 2 Eastern, sometime around then. I don't know the exact time. Maybe one of you guys does.
I think it was 12. Monday. Yeah, it was 12 on. I'm in class then, so I'll be not be paying attention to whatever I'm supposed to be. But
I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think it's 12:00 noon.
Noon. Okay, on Monday.
Yeah, Eastern time. Yeah. So.
All right. So I gotta book myself a fake meeting. Awesome. It sounds.
Or 12:30 actually. I told you 12:30. 12 or 12:30. So yeah, Bob said that you gotta. Some meeting, something.
You gotta book, right? You gotta book. It's like the March Madness, right?
I'm sure we could get some Division 3 networking events. I'm sure we could.
Exactly, it's important. Recruiting. We'll get some recruiting thing going on.
Right.
And then I imagine there'll be. I haven't seen. I gotta go check the schedule, but I imagine Hoopsville, which typically has a show now on Mondays, we'll do something on Monday, and we'll get some sort of breakdown. Is it live? Aria, you seem to know.
He's doing
sort of like a live reveal, or is it?
tomorrow's gonna be they're gonna do like they usually do mock pool C selections tomorrow. I think it's like 5 he said he's starting, and then also tomorrow night they're also gonna be having something Monday night also. So Sunday night and Monday night. So a lot of hoops still. This is the most exciting time. I haven't been doing this for so long, but for the last like few years I've been following Division 3. This is like the most exciting time where a lot going on, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have a lot to be selling about. We'll a lot to look forward to, and it'll be really exciting.
It really is. And by the way, I'm sure is the women's tournament on the same sort of time frame? They're finishing up their conference tournaments. Also, I know there were some finals, and they'll basically, sort of be matching. Are they also opening next weekend with the tournament as well? And they sort of rotate. Is it like sort of a day rotation, or
Yep.
maybe they follow?
They'll be Friday, Saturday as well, and there's selection show will be Monday, I think, right either before or after the men's. But when it comes to hosting, they do like an odd even year, men's, women's priority. So if and I don't know the women's landscape all that well right now, but if let's say Christopher Newport could host both this year, men get the first weekend priority. Next year, the women will get it. Then the second weekend they shift that. So if you have a good men's program and women's program, you might have to fight for hosting.
I think Christopher Newport's like the team. Yeah, they're the team that's going to affect. They're the number one, I think, women team right now, and they're top 5 for the men. So they'll be the only ones I think affected by it. But that could be interesting for. It might affect us potentially because we might get somewhere with Christopher Newport somewhere down the line. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be impacted by that. And then I was saying, as the Yeshiva women's team really ups their game. I didn't check to see if maybe Ryan can adopt a sister or whatever it is. We'll figure out what happens. But we'll get some. They actually they have some talent, but hopefully we'll be at that point one time. We were actually joking. From a venue standpoint, meaning I'm sure that part of the selection hosting, obviously the play is the most important. But we were saying like, a little bit of like, phew, it would have been crazy if for some reason YU was a host. Again,
which is not happening for the record.
No, not happening for sure. But like we were just talking about, we're sort of thinking about what would happen in that situation because we're talking about again New York City to a certain extent, even though it's closer to Jersey from a standpoint of just availability and teams, venue standpoint, right? They're just definitely not one of the largest venues, in the play. Would they have the other game play on Sabbath while they couldn't play on Sabbath? This is a lot of just interesting, funny, components to something like that. So maybe one day in the future we'll get to tackle that. But do they look at venue and just make sure that the host sites really can accommodate not just the teams but obviously the fans outside of obviously last year and then the situation in 2019 and sort of fans and things like that. But for now, is that a consideration? Is that something they think about?
Yes, each school has to submit a sort of like a bid to host. So like to put their name in the hat, we want to do this, we're willing to do this. Here's the details on our facility. And there are some requirements. You have to have the facilities available, and most schools do. But I think they want you to have something like 600 or 800 seat capacity. And I think for the first weekend, that number might go up to 1,000 in the second weekend. Don't quote me on the specifics. But essentially they do. You do have to say we're willing to host, and all the teams that are in any sort of position to get in the tournament or not get in the tournament will usually submit that, right? Even if they don't get selected, if they're interested in hosting at all, right? Like Calvin might not get in. Even if they do, they're not going to host, but I'm sure they're, for whatever reason, submitting their paperwork because if something weird happens for the second weekend and they're the geographical midpoint, maybe they get to host, whatever, right? But yes, there are considerations around facilities and seating and your own desire to host that goes into that. We have heard, I forget if it was men's or women's a few years back, a certain team would have been in position to host, and for whatever reason, they didn't submit any paperwork. And so they couldn't consider that spot because to the NCAA standpoint, that school wasn't willing or able to host that game.
That's got to be incredible where you're sort of like up there, you can get a home game.
On that team, I got a hosting chance and your school just didn't submit paperwork.
Yeah.
And this is it's got to be rough, or maybe it's the issue as you were saying, why you would not submit paperwork because we like the road games better.
Right.
We think we play better on the road, so we'd rather come at it that way. But this is awesome. Matt, thanks for the impromptu jump on. We definitely we're going to have a more detailed breakdown, more prep. Definitely, this is awesome. I think again we won't talk about it, but this is we're on the precipice of something really exciting. Definitely for Yeshiva's fan base. But I think really to be able to, even for the rest of the rest of D3, to sort of see, experience, share culture is just incredible. I think to be able to give, as Bob talked about it, that is a major part of the experience that Illinois Wesleyan was able to have. I think that will come out in the tournament, God willing, as well. But it's going to be awesome. Another awesome Sunday, and then hopefully we will hope for Calvin. We got it all together. You now have all our vibes there for Calvin, and we hope for that. We'll see. We hope for no bubbles bursting, or at least as best as can possibly be. And
it looks like
Whitworth's
taking care of business. 3 minutes left. They're up by 22. So
good.
Yeah. So that's good. So hopefully they'll
one
continue.
more.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Any last words? Any last words that you wanna share? I know we are really just incredible thankful of the stuff you put out, the work that you do. It's just an incredible education for all of us, but also the enthusiasm and the passion is like, again, that's what D3 is built on, and that's what just exudes every time. We love it. Anything you want to share with some Yeshiva viewers who are both nervous and not nervous about tomorrow?
No, thanks for letting me jump on. I had fun. I like to catch you guys when I can. I think you guys will do great tomorrow. I just take care of business. You'll be fine. Just ease off the pressure on yourselves. It'll all be fine. But this is the fun time of year. I really love your fan base, how engaged everyone is and how excited they are. So that's what makes D3 Hoops fun, is when you get to connect with people you've never met before. And that's awesome.
Awesome. We will keep doing that. We promise. Have a great night. Have a great night. See you soon. So that's Matt Snyder. Really, just like, again, can't thank him enough. Just popping on, listening, coming, taking the time to join us here, guys. Any last words for tomorrow, for the fans as they're sort of watching, driving in tomorrow? Anything you want to share with them?
I will just say, if you want to follow Matt Snyder on his site, if we could put it in the chat, maybe. Really, if you want to
on the video description. It's 2 maroon and gold.
Yeah. So
but we'll put the link in the video.
Definitely check it out. It's something, if you want to get into nerd out on some of these numbers and see rankings and based on the analytics, and if you really want to do that, I spend probably too much time on that stuff. And definitely it's really, he does great work, and it's
incredible. And he does this. I mean, he does
for fun, yeah,
out of the goodness of his heart.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's really awesome. He's like, he's like a Midwest Shua, or I don't know where he is. I mean, I guess I'm going to guess Midwest.
He's much greater than I am.
I know, but I was trying to throw you some stuff, but no, Matt's incredible, and we're excited. We actually excited. We talked about it in a while, and we'll have this together, some great content, just to be able to put you guys, maybe the 3 of you guys together, and just talk about some of the things when it comes to what works and what doesn't work, even in terms of regional rankings, the way the teams and road games, and how we can factor in some of these other things, not because it's a Yeshiva slam, but just because how do we get to the truth of the statistics and the numbers. So we're excited for that. Guys, I will throw it out there. If you see Ariel hanging out tomorrow and you have an extra ticket already in your possession, or somebody who maybe got sick, just don't let it go to waste. He is trust me, it'll be worthwhile to get Ariel in there.
I haven't been to a game all year. I've been I tried to go earlier. It didn't work out for different reasons. So yeah, if you see me, you could see what I look like. I look like the regular Jewish guy, but with glasses.
Right. Look for the guy with a yarmulke and glasses.
Right.
Yeah, should narrow it down. But he'll be there. He'll be the one really hungry for whatever they're cooking out in the quadrangle, but also hungry for a seat in the Max game. We will try to hook him up as well and help him out. But thank you guys for staying on. Thank you guys for watching. And we'll talk to you. Please subscribe. We're going to have an awesome, God willing, tournament breakdown. Thanks, and again, thanks for sharing. That's Mayor on the ones and twos, as Ari likes to say, sharing the tomorrow the party that's hanging out. I think it starts at 1 p.m. I'll be surprised if it doesn't start before that. There'll a lot of people gathering outside in what should be decent weather tomorrow in the 40s. So excited to see Max fans. Please put your Max gear on if you have it. Come ready to cheer and just ready to be excited for an incredible moment in Max history as we continue our journey with the 21-22 Max. Guys, in Miami, you're going to have some good weather probably. Shua will be enjoying it. Guys, have an awesome night. Thanks for jumping on. And we'll talk really soon. Go Max. Excited to get back here after tomorrow and talk about some tournament seeding. Poo.
Hopefully, really hoping for it. We need it. This is what we've been waiting for. So this is the team, and this is
it, right? We got to get through this gate. All right, Peace, guys. Talk soon.
Good night.